My name is Daniel Aguilar, retired as the Chief Petty Officer in the world's second largest nuclear fleet as a naval reservist. I spent 1 year in Vietnam from the year of 1966. I served in the swift boats. I was one of the first group of men to report to Coronado amphibious base as part of it, and we milled about smartly for about a month or two. So until they got organized, and once they were organized, then they started our training. And I was one of the original 21st crew to be trained on swift boats. At that time, the training we received just on how to shoot and maintain the boat and to steer it. Other than that, it was all new. We were, like I said, we were the first ones over there, so it was kind of strange. They sent us to survival training out in Southern California, which had very little to do with the jungles of Vietnam. Because we were able to take the 21 boat from the Philippines to Vietnam, and while we were in the Philippines, we outfitted the 21 boat, made sure everything worked. And we went through additional training while we were there. The crew I was with, we had Lieutenant J.G. William Patterson. We had a radioman, second class by the name of William Vanderveer. We had a EN2 Jim Bogjard, and then we had a bosun mate first class by the name of Mac Nichols, and then we had two gunner's mates. Our first original gunner's mate was a GM1 Ronald Payne. Then he left us to go south in Vietnam, and then we got another gunner's mate by the name of Castleman. It was a gunner's mate first class Castleman. When we first arrived in Vietnam in February of '66, we transported the swift boat number 21 from Subic Bay to the Da Nang Harbor on the LSD Marion, LSD Marion, I believe. And then from there we arrived in Vietnam on the work barge, and there was no living quarters provided for us at that time. So the only living quarters we had was the work barge. So there was, I'd say, about 6 to 7 crews, all living in a small barge that wasn't provided, didn't have provisions for that many people. So we had to find any small nook and cranny to find a place to sleep. And while we were there, we also rotated on cooking food for everybody. So we went on patrol. We're on 24 off 24, and then we were kind of heavy on that since there were so few of us there at that time. We would go on a 24-hour patrol out various parts of the Nang. We would go north or south as far as Chu Lai. For a time, we would just go out, patrol a certain area, check boats and stuff like that. It was kind of routine at the most. We probably made a lot of mistakes since we were the first crews out there, and we were trying to learn the ropes, and I guess we made a lot of mistakes. We probably let a lot of things go by that we didn't know, but as we stayed there, the longer we started to understand the culture of the citizens and of the boat fishing community that were there. We mostly interacted with the civilians that were there, that we would encounter on the boat crew. I think our biggest factor at that time was our ability to communicate effectively with them, since we received no formal schooling or training and various phrases that we could be able to use while we were in Vietnam at that time. I believe later on there were schooling for that, but when we first went out there, it was just, let's hurry up and get them out there. I think when we found a Vietnamese fishing vessel or some type of vessel, we weren't too sure, that was grounded on the beach there, and we had to supply coverage for them. while we were there, which was a blessing in one part, but that we were able to secure that boat. But the seas at that time were kind of rough, so we would ride the waves for a while, and then we had to fight the waves going out, and the waves at that time were 10 to 15 feet tall. So riding them in was great, but fighting to go back out was kind of rough. It was challenging to be able to learn the ropes and do the things at the same time. So it was a challenge, and that we met and we overcame, and we did our best. We always did our best to do our job. A few months after we arrived, we were able to move into what they call an APPLE, Auxiliary Personnel Living Quarters, which is a floating barge. It was 2 or 3 decks of the living quarters that had facilities for bathing, mess hall, galley, and all that, and recreational lounge and all that. So there's where we stayed most of our time, and our boats were tied up next to that also. So they moved from the barge to to the APPLE where we stayed. I was the helmsman. I used to cook. We would clean, help do everything around there. So it was kind of everything. It was kind of like being on a submarine where we all had to learn each other's job in that respect. I remember, I guess maybe cooking, because my dad sent me some flour, corn tortilla mix, instant mix. So I made it for the crew over there, and the first time they tasted it, they didn't like it, because I just cooked them like we normally did. And it was nice and thick and fluffy, and they didn't like it. So I said, well, those son of guns, and other explicit terms that I used for them, so I'll teach them. So I made it again, and I sliced them up and I fried them. It's like Fritos. So they in that respect, they enjoyed that. So I was able to do cooking, and remember one time we were in Hawaii. It was the week of the Marine birthday, and somewhere along the lines, on the pier, somebody left a case of frozen steaks on the pier, and for some odd reason, they wound up in my possession, and we went to our barracks while we were in Hawaii, and we had steaks for a while. So if you're a Marine, thank you very much for providing the Navy with this case of steaks. We enjoyed them. We had steak and eggs for breakfast for quite a while, so thank you very much. We were always mindful that things could happen. I think that was the most tedious thing, and not knowing what was to happen and when it's going to happen. In our boat, we were lucky, I guess, or unlucky, however you want to look at it, is only having one firefight, and so we were lucky in that respect. I was on the fantail relieving myself, since we didn't have a very big bathroom facilities. And as I was relieving myself, we were receiving gunfire, so I ran in and I said, I must have pissed somebody off, because they're shooting at us now. And then we received several small arm fires, and then we returned fire at that time. So I don't know of any casualties. I believe I shot and I saw somebody fall, but we never went to verify if they were how badly they were injured or anything like that. So we'd like for them to remember us as doing our part to stem the flow of material goods from the sea into the interior country of Vietnam. It was a small boat, not really provided or built for combat purposes, that was adapted for combat purposes, and we were able to do a job that was, I guess the boat really wasn't prepared for that type of activity.